All right, y'all, in this video, we'll be going over the spine. We'll be working the cervical, thoracic, lumbar spine with an emphasis on the cervical spine and some variations to play with to help increase your mobility and strength of the cervical spine. As we know, cervical spine is connected to the thoracic spine, so we can't fully neglect that. We're going to start with cervical CARs, go into spinal CARs, we'll do some cervical variations, and we'll run it back, and that'll be it. Right? So, starting in a standing or tall kneeling position, we're going to go through 3 reps of our cervical CARs. So tuck the chin, rotate to the left, lateral bend and back into extension. Continue to extend back as you rotate to the other side. Hit that lateral bend, swing it through for rep 1. Continue on to the left, lateral bend, up and back. Come down for rep 2. Trying to make the degrees and range of motion just slightly bigger every rep as we come down for rep 3, pausing at the bottom and rotating to the right. Lateral bend, up and back to extension. Continue to extend as you rotate and move to the other side. Bring it down for rep 1. Swing it through for rep 2. And last one, rotate, lateral bend, extend, up and around, lateral bend, rotate, down for rep 3. Good. Now, spinal CARs. If you've never done spinal CARs, just moving on to spinal CARs. Spinal CARs is the same exact thing as the cervical spine, neck CARs, but with the thoracic spine, right? So we're going to cross our arms, tall kneeling position, keeping that glute and those glutes engaged, quads slightly engaged. If you're standing, widen your base, keep everything from the waist down, locked in cement. And we're going to come and curl in. And then we're going to rotate, laterally bend, extend back, up and around. Same exact thing as the cervical CARs, just with our thoracic spine. And swinging it through for rep 1. Rotate, lateral bend, extend, up and around, lateral bend, down, swing it through for rep 2. Rotate, lateral bend, up and around, and swing it through for rep 3. Pause at the bottom, rotate the other direction, lateral bend, extend, up and around, through, rotate, lateral bend, extend, up and around for 2. And last one for 3. Okay, gonna go down into our articulated cat-cows before we get into the cervical spine variations. All right, so quadruped position, just get 2 or 3 organic cat-cows, and then we'll get 2 reps of our articulated cat-cows. All right, so driving our scaps forward into the ground, keeping our scaps in that protracted position so we don't retract into extension for fake extension. Driving those scaps forward, we're going to come into cat, so round it out. From a cat position, you're going to maintain that rounded back as you pull your hips back, then start to pull into the lumbar spine, TL junction, low thoracic, driving those scaps forward, mid-thoracic, upper thoracic, cervical comes up. Maintain that extension of the thoracic spine and of the lumbar spine as you try and tuck the hips. Go into the low lumbar, mid-lumbar, TL junction, keeping that extension, driving those scaps forward, rounding out at the low thoracic, mid-thoracic, upper thoracic, allowing the head to drop. And then let's get one more, both directions. Pull the hips back, keeping that upper back rounded, allowing the belly button to drop, driving the scaps forward, pulling back into extension, head comes up. Pull the hips under, rounding out at the lumbar spine, rounding out at the TL junction, rounding out at the thoracic, allowing the head to drop. Good. Okay, so now we're going to go over some cervical spine variations, right? So we've already done our tall kneeling. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to come back into a collapsed quadruped position. So you can think child's pose, but instead of coming all the way down to child's pose, you're staying tall and upright, and your hands are coming towards your knees. I'm gonna go on my fists. You can go on your hands. It's just more comfortable for me to be on my fists. And you're gonna round out your cervical or your thoracic spine, and then from this position, you're gonna do your neck car. You're gonna be incredibly limited in your ability to do this, but this is just affecting the tissue from a different position, right? So butt back into hips, rounded out thoracic spine, drop the head, rotate, lateral flexion, up and around. Lateral flexion, rotation, dropping the chin for rep 1, swinging it through. For rep 2. And again, up and around for rep 3. Pausing at the bottom, rotate the opposite direction, up and around for rep 1. Two. And 3. Okay, so now we're going to go in the opposite direction, right, to on our belly and coming up into what would be up dog for most, whatever that looks like for you. So coming into thoracic extension, and now we're going into down. Rotate, lateral flexion, up and around. And swinging it through for rep 2. And rep 3. Pausing at the bottom, switching directions. That's 2. And 3. Okay, now that we've gone from thoracic flexion and extension, we're now going to laterally bend and try in that position. I find this to be much more difficult for me personally. It might be easier for you. I have a yoga block here to make it a little easier as I laterally bend, which I recommend you do. You can also place your hand on the ground, whatever feels best, all right? So I'm going to bend to my right here, using this for stability, this yoga block. And then from here, I'm going to be fighting against gravity. I'm going to tuck my chin, rotate down, lateral bend, extend, up and around. Goodness gracious. Lateral bend and down. That is difficult. Rotate, lateral bend, back, up and around. Rotate, lateral bend, up and around. For 3. Pause, switch directions. 1. 2. A little disorienting from this angle, trying to understand exactly. Rotation, lateral bend, extend, up and around. Good, for rep 3. All right, other side. Gonna sit my butt back. I suppose you could do this tall kneeling as well. It feels good for me to sit back on my heels and to be on my toes. So lateral bend as much as I can. Good. And I'm going to drop the chin, rotate, lateral flexion, back, up and around. Rotate, lateral flexion, back, up and around. Rotate, lateral flexion, up and around. Pausing at the bottom, going the other direction. Rotate, lateral flexion, back, up and around. Rotate, lateral flexion, back, up and around. Rotate, lateral flexion, back, up and around. Phew. Okay, there are some cervical spine variations for you to play with. If that felt good for you and you feel as though you need to get more strength and control stabilization and mobility in the neck, I would run it back and do that again. I would start with just tall kneeling cervical spine, thoracic or other spine cars, getting into that collapsed quadruped, rounded out thoracic, up dog, extended thoracic, lean, lean, run it back and do that again and start implementing that into your daily routine. All right, I hope you enjoyed. Please reach out if you have any questions.